What's up, everyone? I hope you're doing well. Today is Thursday, August 8th, and this is Raphael Garcia here for episode number 27 of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. I hope you're doing well today. We have quite a bit to talk about. It's pretty much a busy season in the world of professional wrestling, and we're going to talk about that. But before we do, I wanted to it's funny I say we when it's just me on the podcast, but I wanted to first and foremost thank you for taking the time to listen to our content today. Please be sure to like and share everything you see across the MMA Ratings channels. We have our Instagram and Twitter where you can catch us at MMA Ratings Net on both. You can also subscribe to our to our YouTube channel and listen to podcasts such as this and the MMA Ratings podcast, which myself and Shawan Humes do every Thursday, usually about 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, you can catch me at rgarcia_sports, where I'm often rambling about the world of professional sports, including wrestling, mixed martial arts, football, basketball, soccer, anything in between. And I'm also talking about a lot of social and political issues today, but that'll be later on in the MMA Ratings podcast. So I implore you to tune into that show because I'm going to go on a rant later on, but that's neither here nor there because I want to talk about things that, for the most part, bring me joy, and that is professional wrestling. And there's quite a bit to talk about in the world of professional wrestling because, like I said, we're in a very busy season as we have this weekend. We have SummerSlam, we have NXT TakeOver, and we also have the G1 Climax winding down, which ends on Monday. I'm going to talk about all three of those and kind of give some thoughts about each and if I'm excited about them, what I expect to see, and just kind of talk about what's going to go on next. I usually really only cover like the major promotions, which include WWE, AEW. Once that starts, I'm trying to get a suite for that night, so hopefully that comes off well. And also New Japan and some matches in between. I have a lot of professional wrestling I need to catch up on over the next few weeks, and I hope to get some of that done this weekend as well. But before I can even start about the stuff I need to recap and the stuff I need to catch up on, I want to start off with today's agenda where we will be looking at SummerSlam first, and that is on Sunday, August 11th. And this is, I think at one point in time, the tagline for SummerSlam was the hottest party of the summer. Maybe I'm making that up. It sounds like something WWE would say. If they haven't said it and they use it next year, I'm going to be asking for a pretty large check from them. But either way, I think that SummerSlam 2019 is not as interesting as some of the past years have been. And I'm not going to say it's not as interesting. I don't think it has people as captivated. There's a lot to take in on this card. There's rumors that it may be 6 hours long between the pre-show and the regular show, which I can't even begin to imagine. But there's a lot to take in here. We already have 10 matches on the card, which I'm going to run through. But there's also rumors of potentially additional matches being added, such as Roman Reigns versus Buddy Murphy, or perhaps an Intercontinental title match, which we may see as well. So let's go ahead and start with asking the question of whether or not if I'm excited about this showcase. And right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say I'm probably about a 6. And a lot of that is based on the hope and the wish, potentially, that WWE does something different with this show and they give us something to be excited about. The last pay-per-view, which was the last pay-per-view, Extreme Rules, was actually a lot better than a lot of people thought it was. And I think a lot of that was because everyone came in with such low expectations. As with so many other things in life, if you come in with a whole bunch of expectations, you're putting yourself in a position to be let down. And I really think that was the case with so many other WWE shows this year. But when we saw Extreme Rules, we got the exact opposite. And we saw the exact opposite, and I think we got a show that a lot of people were more excited about. So I'm hoping that we can experience the same thing with SummerSlam as well. But unfortunately, this show is one of the big four between WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and the Royal Rumble. And I think now it's the big five with Money in the Bank. This is a big time show, and this is an important moment in the year for WWE because it sets the stage for the ramp up into the Royal Rumble and into WrestleMania season for 2020. So with that in mind, I can honestly say that I'm not as excited as I thought I would be. But again, I'm going in hoping for low expectations, hoping for a night that's a 6 out of 10 that will surpass what I'm expecting for this event. Well, let's go ahead and talk about some of the matches on the card. The first one we have is Drew Gulak versus Oney Lorcan. I'm not too familiar with Lorcan, to be honest. I recognize him from that tag team, or where it was Lorcan and Birch that competed for the tag team titles a couple of different times. Other than that, I'm not too familiar with him right now. I am definitely a fan of Drew Gulak. He's one of those guys who has grown on me. He's shown his ability to have such a wide range of characters. He can play the lackey. He could play the comedy character. He can play the ruthless heel. He can play all those types of characters. So I appreciate all of that from him. In some ways, he kind of reminds me of a Chris Benoit, and that's without the murderous rampage that he went on to end his life. But he still reminds me of someone that can play like that legit tough guy, and you just know, like, he just looks like he can hurt you if he gets his hands on you. And I think that is one thing I appreciate about Gulak, especially with my grappling background. And I am looking forward to this match. He's done great every time he's been out. I expect this to be a decent match as well. I expect it to be on the pre-show, which means everybody won't really see it because it'll be too early. But I do think this is a match that I'm looking forward to seeing, and I expect Gulak to come out with the title on Sunday. So after this match, I'm just moving up the list based on what's on Wikipedia. I do not know if this is the official match rundown. I doubt it is, because up next we have Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair. And I will say this. Of the two matches on the card where they have someone from the Attitude Era coming back, or pre-Attitude Era, whatever you may want to call it, this is the match that's more intriguing of the two. We're going to talk about Goldberg and Dolph Ziggler in a second, because I am not enticed about that match at all. But Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair, I get it. I like that they're going with the angle that that Trish was, she was a measuring stick during her time, and she helped elevate women's wrestling to the best that she could during that time. But there was only so much that she could do. The ceiling was definitely a lot lower than it is now. And Charlotte Flair is benefiting from a lot of the work that Trish put into place. Now, she has been a force within the women's revolution, and even though that's taken some backward steps, she's the measuring stick for today's female wrestler, and that's without a shadow of a doubt. In many ways, in my opinion, she's one of the best wrestlers on the roster, regardless of gender. Top 5 easily, regardless of gender in the WWE right now. So putting these two against each other with the storyline of Trish wanting to see if she can hang with today's women's wrestler is good narrative to me. I think it is a storyline that means so much more than some of the other storylines we even see, even though they've only been telling it for maybe about 2 weeks. And that is a big issue, overarching issue that we see with SummerSlam this year, is that the show itself was not properly promoted heading into tonight. It was just not something that a lot of people were excited about. It was just something that just did not look like a event that was going to get enough time in front of the camera, and we see that heading into Sunday. It's just so much going on this card that wasn't properly fleshed out. This match, though, it has enough of a storyline that it caught everybody's attention, and I think it's a good start. And I think that Charlotte Flair comes out with the win here. You can't keep putting the old wrestlers over the new ones. They did that with Raw Reunion. They're going to do that with Goldberg versus Ziggler. There has to be a point in time where we get the previous generation of wrestlers putting over the newer talent, and I think that this is a moment where we see that, and I expect Charlotte Flair to pick up the win. Goldberg and Dolph Ziggler, I mean, why? Like, I was so much more intrigued with the idea of it being Dolph Ziggler versus Shawn Michaels. I was hoping that was a match we were going to get, but unfortunately it's not. Instead, we have Goldberg, and I was never a Goldberg fan. Even at his height, I was never a Goldberg fan. The dude just didn't do it for me. And the fact that he actually injured my favorite wrestler of all time, and Bret Hart put him out of wrestling permanently, Goldberg was just never someone who got over with me, and I was never a fan of him. So do I want to see him go over Dolph Ziggler? I mean, I don't really care. I know he's going to win. There's even somebody that was even trying to argue that Ziggler will probably pick up the win here, and that's a big no, sir. It's just not happening. But I just want Goldberg off of my TV. He's on that list. He's on the X-Pac go away type of heat. Yes, he had that bad match with Undertaker back at Sands of Time or whatever the hell that show was called. But I don't care about that because I believe no one wants to see Goldberg come back and make a run. Like, he squashed Kevin Owens and took the Universal title off of him to get it on to Brock Lesnar. But other than that, I mean, I'm just not excited for this match. I just don't think Goldberg has anything to offer. He doesn't have anything to offer me as a wrestling fan, and this is definitely a bathroom/meal prep break for me. I expect Goldberg to go over in a squash. Now we also move to AJ Styles versus Ricochet, and this is a match that I'm intrigued in because I think the narrative is that they let a lot of people down with their match from, was it Extreme Rules? Whatever the last pay-per-view was. And I think looking back at that match was placed on the card in a position where they had to slow it down and they had to cool everybody off because it was just too much of a high. At that point in time, like the whole Extreme Rules card that kind of caught somebody off guard. It caught a lot of people off guard, and it was just such an exciting show that when AJ Styles and Ricochet came around, they had to slow things down a little bit, and that's the kind of match that they gave us. Now, with these two guys, it slowed the match down in a way that people didn't appreciate it as much. We know what AJ and Ricochet can do. We're very familiar with these two guys in the ring. They've competed against each other in the past. We've seen what they've done since being in WWE. I mean, we know like they can go. So there isn't any hesitation around that. It really is about what type of match will they have. And with that in mind, I think that this is going to be the match that excels compared to the Extreme Rules match. And I think that we're going to be pleased with what we see on Sunday because I think that these two guys are going to go in there and tear it up. Now, with that saying, it's for the United States title. I think that AJ Styles keeps that belt. And I'm not saying that they do that to elevate Ricochet into another position. I think they're doing that because they're going to set the club up for a big push. Maybe even bringing in Finn when he returns from his sabbatical. And we're going to get into that later. But I think that AJ Styles keeps the belt here to keep the club overall strong. And I wouldn't be too mad at that decision. So that brings us up to the next match, which is Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. Now, this is Bray Wyatt coming back as The Fiend. And I'm not quite sure, they've built this up in a very amazing way. I'm a fan of the way that they've built this up. I'm hoping that they make this a complete squash. Just a complete squash of Finn Balor because he's not wrestling as the Demon. So have him come back as a complete squash and get the Fiend character over. I don't want to have any theme music. I don't want to have anything hokey. I just want to have a straight out lights go down, lights come up, Finn Balor's getting his ass kicked. 1, 2, 3, less than 5 minutes, match is over. I think that's the way that match needs to go, and it needs to go that way to get the Fiend over. I want to see him look like a dominant force, kind of like Kane did when he was first introduced years ago. Because I think that's going to go very far in helping getting that character over. And I like that they're taking their time with the Fiend and putting him in a position of power and intrigue. They got to continue doing that because I think that that's going to help that character long term. I don't know where it's really going to go. I don't know how it's going to play out between the Fiend and the Mr. Rogers type character, but I'm interested. They got my attention. I'm in for this ride, but this match here has to go over as a squash for Bray Wyatt getting the win. There's no way in hell Finn Balor picks up this win. If he did by some sort of miraculous way, then I mean Bray Wyatt should quit. Like he should quit on the spot. I wish that they had Finn Balor here in the Demon gimmick and had him lose to the Fiend that way. But that's neither here nor there because we both know that's not going to happen. But it may in the future. We never know. We have Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. Again, Shane McMahon is another one of those individuals that has go-away heat to me. I don't want to see him on my television. I don't want to see him in my Instagram feed. I don't want to see him on Twitter. Anywhere. Get the hell off of my screen. And I hope that this match is brutal. I hope Kevin Owens beats the shit out of him. And I hope that it gets him off of our television for the extended period of time. I almost want it to go the same way that the match against Dolph Ziggler went last month, where it was stunner, pin, 1, 2, 3. That was it. But while there's value in getting him out of the way that way, I think there's also value in having Kevin Owens beat the brakes off of him from start to finish. We clearly see that he is trying to. We clearly see that we are trying to kind of mold Owens after the Stone Cold character. And while, that has its benefits, I think that there needs to be a individual kind of tilt to Owens as well. And I think we kind of get that in some ways, but he needs to smash the shit out of Shane right here. And he needs to walk away with this not the title, excuse me. He needs to walk away with this win and move on to something more. Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. This is the thing that has me the most excited about this card because it has real implications. I was listening to Sean Ross Sapp talk about this match earlier this week, and they were likening it to Triple H versus Booker T from years ago, where that storyline was marred in racial implications. It was marred in racial coded language. And we saw how that went. Triple H basically jobbed Booker T out. And we know the history between Kingston and Orton. We know the history of watching Kingston rise up to win the title this year at WrestleMania, which I was there for. We've seen all that go on, and this story has real implications behind that. And WWE has done a great job of weaving that into the storyline here. I just hope that they don't make the mistake of putting the title on Orton. I think that this is the one match, even though Kingston's been champion since April, this is the one match here I think that will legitimize his run as champion. He's still over. People are still excited for him. Unconscious biases that a lot of talking heads within professional wrestling have when talking negatively about Kingston. I think there is some undertones in there that need to be addressed. But this is a story that I am looking forward to watching play out, and I'm hoping that Kingston gets the win. I think he needs to keep that title around his waist. I wouldn't be mad if he lost it, sometime later on in the year, lost it at Survivor Series, lost it at the Royal Rumble, something like that. But I've enjoyed his run. This is a run that's bigger than him. It's about people that look like me, and it is good to finally see someone at the top that looks like me. I've also noticed that they've kind of moved away from hinting at the breakup with the New Day, but I still think that is coming. I think that's how they're going to get the belt off of him. I think that's how they're going to keep him in a storyline at the top while elevating Big E and Xavier. But we'll see what happens with that. As far as Sunday is concerned, I think he needs to keep this belt around his waist and walk out from Toronto with the championship and a win over Orton. Bayley versus Ember Moon. I think Bayley's going over on this match simply because Ember Moon is in a hot commodity. While she she has a fan base. She doesn't resonate with me per se, but she definitely has a fan base, and people are excited about her. Now, the question is whether or not the WWE is ready to put that belt on Ember Moon. And I just don't think they are right now. She just doesn't seem. They've cooled her off so much since her run in NXT and those matches she had with Asuka that it's almost like she's in a position like Natalya, where when Natalya wins the belt, she won the belt I think earlier this year or late last year, and it was clear that she was a transitional champion. Yeah, she can work. She can go in there with anyone, but I just don't think Ember Moon is the type of individual that the WWE wants to promote, even though, they've failed women of color so many times. I mean, look at what they're doing with the Kabuki Warriors this year. Look at what they're doing with so many. Look what they try to do with Sasha Banks. Look at how they book Bayley left and right. They failed women of color so often that they've pigeonholed Ember in such a way that I don't think she can get out of it, at least not right now, at least not with the way she's booked. So I expect Bayley to pick up the win here. Becky Lynch versus Natalya. I think Lynch continues her run as champion as well. She's the flag bearer. They don't put her on the cover of WWE 2K20 just to have her lose this match coming right now. So I expect it's listed as a submission match. I don't know if it actually is. Don't really care. But I have Becky Lynch winning this match. It should be pretty handily. Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. I don't give a fuck about this match. Period. I was talking about this on Twitter the other day, and I was like, I would be much more invested in this match if they took it off of this card, moved Kingston and Randy Orton to the main event, and put this on a Monday Night Raw, built it up for 2 weeks, and hyped it up that this is a main event that you want to see. Don't give us no bait and switch. Don't give us anything stupid. Just give us these two guys beating the hell out of each other for the last half hour, last 20 minutes of a show. And I bet you they would pop a rating on that. They don't need to do anything ridiculous like a Raw reunion or something or other. Give us 2 weeks of strong promotion. This is the main event. This is what the main event is going to be, and get everyone excited about that. And that would be enough to get people to buy in. But that's not the case. And we have this match on Sunday. I don't care for it. I don't care for it because I don't think that they've butchered Seth's character in such a way that it's not exciting anymore. I think the last time Seth was quote-unquote exciting or interesting was when he was beating the shit out of everyone with that chair, who was trying to be the special guest referee for Baron Corbin, who we have not seen since Extreme Rules. I think that was the last time that Seth was exciting. Seth was interesting as a character. I don't think Seth is better as a heel. Then he's better as the chasing wrestler as opposed to being the champion. It's just so unfortunate the way his character has been handled as of late. That this is the dude that could put on, 4 high quality level matches, star matches with anyone if given the time. This is the guy who was carrying the company early this year, putting on great match after great match, match after match after match, week after week after week. This is the guy who was doing that. And they've basically butchered his character to this point in the year. And they have Brock Lesnar as the champion. And as much as many people complained about Lesnar being the champion, him never being around, it seems like people are more happy with him being the champion right now as opposed to Seth being the champion. And I'm kind of okay with that. But the only point is, how do you get this belt off of Brock? The only other person, Braun? Do you go with Bobby Lashley? How do you get this belt off of Brock Lesnar if you can't put it on somebody and make them seem credible at the same time? They definitely have not made Seth seem credible. This match doesn't seem credible to me, and I hope that it doesn't end the night, because there's no way that this match can go over well from a story standpoint that will have people excited for Monday night. That's just how I feel. There's no way that this match can go over well in a way that will have people excited for Monday night, and that's that. So we've run down all of SummerSlam, and I want to move into the event that probably has me the most excited out of them all, and that is NXT TakeOver Toronto. It's funny. SummerSlam is listed as 10 matches. TakeOver has 5, and I'm much more excited in this match here, or this slate of matches. We have Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai. Io has to win this match to be considered a legit heel. She looks fucking fantastic as a heel. I absolutely love her look in all black. I mean, she just looks like she's there to beat bitches up, and I love it. And I'm a fan of her. I'm a fan of her as a face, but I wasn't really that too much into her character. But seeing her as a heel, makes her much more intriguing, and I think that's how she's going to be the one to get the belt. They just got to figure out how to get there in some way, shape, or form. But heel Io Shirai, I'm here for that all day, every day. And it's good to see them finally get a second women's match on an NXT TakeOver card. The other one they have, Shayna Baszler versus Mia Yim. I think Mia Yim is the person to get that title off of Shayna. I don't necessarily know if that means Shayna is going to be called up to the main roster, but I do think that Mia is the person to get that belt off her. Because the video clips of her beating the shit out of the other 4 horsewomen got me interested in her as a character. I was already interested in her in some ways, because I thought she had that look to her. She had that like legitimate aspect of her that would make me want to believe that she can go in there and handle her damn business. I mean, we've seen her in plenty of intergender matches across the years, but I think she's the one that can handle this. And I just don't want to see another situation with the way they did Bianca Belair, where they have the horsewomen come out and the faces in there by themselves fighting off the horsewomen, and they get submitted by Shayna Baszler. I mean, I'm tired of that. I hope we get to see something different. But I am predicting right now. I'm also predicting right now that Mia Yim walks out with the title around her waist. Then we have Velveteen Dream versus Pete Dunne versus Roderick Strong. Now, I think this match is set up this way to keep Velveteen strong, but also get the belt off of him. I think it's going to go around Roderick's waist. And I'm going to talk about why I feel that way. But I do think that this is going, because we saw Pete Dunne win clean over Roderick recently. Dream, they've been elevating him more and more. I don't think that he is going to be elevated to the title picture. I don't see them calling him up just yet. But he's going to continue being elevated. I think they need to get that belt off of him, and they're going to get it off of him by putting it on the waist of Roderick Strong. Pete Dunne just had that impressively long run as an NXT UK champion. I'm not saying he couldn't be a champion here. I mean, hell, he'll probably be NXT champion at some point in time. But I think that right now it's Roderick Strong's time, and the reason why I think it's his time to be that North American champions, because I think we're going to leave NXT TakeOver Toronto with the Undisputed Era with all the belts. I think Street Profits are going to get called up. We've seen how they're being kind of featured on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. They're there all the time. They may not have been doing any great matches and stuff like that, but I think that they're going to get called up after SummerSlam. I think they get the belts taken off of them, and we see Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish with those belts once again, the original Red Dragon. And that brings me to the main event, Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I mean, we're doing this all over again. And to be quite clear, I've loved everything Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano have done this year. I've loved everything they've done together and everything that they've done apart from each other. But I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this story. And I'm tired of this angle. I would much rather see Johnny Gargano go away for a little bit. Go to 205 Live and be on that showcase and be in storylines with Drew Gulak and go elevate that brand for a little while. I don't want to see him on the main roster. I think he's just going to be sitting around like Buddy Murphy or Chad Gable. But go to 205 Live, elevate that roster, and be there for a little while. I think that Adam Cole is going to win this match. We know it's going to go to 3 falls. There's no way in hell this match is not going to go to 3 falls. I'm going to tell you what right now. It's going to go to 3 falls, and each man is going to win the other guy's stipulation. Gargano's going to win the wrestling match, and Cole's going to win the street fight. I'm calling it now. And I'm not sure. I think Sean Ross Sapp was saying that Regal will put a stipulation on it that the loser leaves NXT, and I think that Gargano is going to be on his way out. However, there's also a lot of talk about how much Paul Heyman loves Adam Cole, so maybe he'll be on his way out, but I just don't think that that's the case quite yet. I think that they're going to keep Undisputed Era together on NXT, and they're going to keep them strong. They're all going to have all the titles leaving the show Saturday, and I think that that's going to be the big storyline heading into the next few weeks of tapings, probably through the rest of the year. And that's all for NXT TakeOver. I'm super excited about this show. I think looking at everyone that's on the roster, I think the big potential call-ups are Baszler and the Street Profits. I think Dream stays down. He loses his belt, but I think he gets elevated to the title picture next. But I think that Baszler and the Street Profits are going to go to the main roster. I think that sucks for both of them because we know that the main roster doesn't have any value in tag team wrestling. And women's wrestling on the main roster has not gotten the same type of attention as it has last year or the year before, the last 3 or 4 years. So unfortunately, that sucks for all parties involved. I wanted to close out today's show by talking about G1, and as I've mentioned in the past few weeks, this is my first time ever being invested in G1. I still have some matches I need to catch up on just because of their the matches show at the butt crack of dawn over on East Coast time. So that's that. But we are pulling up to the end of G1, and we have blocks. We have, let me see. We have night 17 and 18 left, and then the finals. So 17 that night is going to be on August 10th, which is Saturday morning. Then the Sunday morning for night 18, and then the finals is going to be on Monday morning. And yeah, so Block A, that match, this final match is tomorrow, right? This match is the 10th. And we have Okada versus Kazuchika Okada versus Kota Ibushi for the right to be the top guy for Block A. Then you have Block B, where we have Hiroki Goto, Jay White, Jon Moxley, and Tatsuya Naito in a 4-way tie for 10th place. I don't know about you, but Okada versus Ibushi has me super excited. Ibushi being in the CWC a couple years ago is what got me interested into New Japan. It's what got me interested into this style of wrestling. Him as a star by itself. So I'm really interested. I'm really looking forward to this Okada versus Ibushi match. I think it's going to be amazing from start to finish. This match I will catch. I'm going to make sure to sit down and probably watch this a couple times. I think that's going to be greatness. Okada's been killing it the whole tournament. Ibushi is Ibushi. He's probably going to land on his head like 6 or 7 times. This is going to be a great match. Then out of Block B, I don't know who's going to win that, man. You have Goto, you have Jay White, Moxley, and Naito. A lot of people are leaning Moxley, and I could see Moxley winning and having the match with Okada and losing there, with Okada being able to pick his own number one contender. I'm not sure who he would pick. Maybe he picks Jay White. I don't know. That's an interesting story within his own right. But I think Moxley is going to win Block B. Moxley is formerly known as Dean Ambrose. He's been elevated in New Japan. He is the organization's U.S. champion. He's been doing great stuff. I don't know if I want to see him win Block B, but I'm okay with him winning Block B, and I'm okay with that being what it is right now. It just kind of is what it is. I still think either way, Okada is winning. Whoever comes out of Block A is winning this joint, and I think that is going to be Okada. I want it to be Ibushi, but I just think that the way that they've been elevating Okada from start to finish, it is what it is. I didn't know Okada was only 31 years old. He's so young. But that is what it is with G1, and I'm excited about G1 because this is a great entry point for anyone who wants to watch New Japan for the first time, who wants to kind of introduce themselves to that brand and introduce themselves to that space. I think it's great content. Their wrestling is always phenomenal. They have a ridiculous number of stars over there. Their storylines aren't like what we see here in North America, but their in-ring action is just totally different. I was showing it to a friend of mine, and she was saying how watching this wrestling is so different than watching WWE, and that's like it's such a different side of the coin that I appreciate it much more, and I'm definitely going to be more invested in this content. You can catch it New Japan World for $10 a month. You can catch it on Access if you have access to that as well too. But I think that the G1 is a great entry point for people trying to get into New Japan. And if you can catch these last 3 nights, especially the finals, I would implore you to sit down and watch all of that content. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and close out today's show. I like to keep our content around the 3-minute mark, the 30-minute mark, to give you, enough time to consume it without taking up too much time of your day. And as always, I want to say first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to watch what we listen to our shows here. I think I appreciate everyone who takes the time to do so, listens to what we have to offer, and supports the content that we make over here at MMA Ratings. As always, you can go to MMAratings.net and like the fights that have just passed, and tell us how interested you are in the fights that are coming up. Keep doing that. Keep supporting us through that channel as well. Read the work that I create, that Adam Martin creates, the Black Jordan Breen, and you also have Schwan Humes and also Michael Ford. We all work hard to get content out to you through that channel. So I thank you for that. You can catch us on Instagram and Twitter at MMARatingsNet, where we are continuously putting up, images and stuff like that about the work that we're working on. And our Twitter is always on and popping there because we got a lot of things to talk about. And you can follow me at rgarcia_sports, where I'm talking professional football, wrestling. I may start dabbling into baseball one day, soccer, NBA, everything. Political aspects. And like I always say, if you don't believe Black Lives Matter, then maybe you shouldn't follow me. You shouldn't listen to my content, because I believe they do. But that's neither here nor there. Remember, there is always an intersection between sports and politics as well. You can't get those two away from each other, but that is another conversation. That's a whole other show. Either way, thank you for taking the time to listen to episode 27 of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Again, this is Raphael Garcia. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and be safe.